Welcome to PhillyNet Squared. In this program, Google AdWords for Nonprofits with Allie Wilson, Senior PPC Associate of Seer Interactive.
Facebook Ad is a digital marketing agency. We do also SEO, analytics, but I focus on paid search or PPC or CPC, which is pay per click, cost per click. So basically, AdWords is my job. I'm in AdWords every day. I also work with Bing Ads, which is, I was telling someone here, is Microsoft's sad answer to AdWords. Also a little bit of Facebook ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads. You can run ads on pretty much anything these days. So here's our agenda for today. I'll go over Google Grants, and then we'll go into more specifics of AdWords. We'll talk about selecting keywords and targeting. You get writing effective ad copy and evaluating how your campaigns are actually doing. We'll also go over some Google Grants limitations and tips. Good news is it's free money from Google. Bad news is that does come with some restrictions. So Google AdWords for Nonprofits or Google Grants. It's just google.com/grants. You get $10,000 per month in ad spend, like almost no questions asked, just free money. You can also get up to $40,000 a month with Grants Pro, but that comes with a few goals you need to reach that Google identifies, which I haven't laid out here, but they're on their website. Basically, that consistently hitting that $10,000 a month cap will get you to be eligible for Grants Pro. So the benefits of this are that you can see what users are searching for to find your nonprofit. You can drill this down into different audiences. For example, what is converting volunteers? What is making them do the action that you want them to do on your website compared to what are donors looking for that helps them make that action on your website that you want them to do. So here's just a few points of eligibility. These are all on Google Grants website that you can refer to at any time. First, you have to apply. Every 90, you have to also hold a valid charity status. You have to acknowledge and agree to required certifications. And you have to have a live website with content, which is pretty obvious. To stay qualified, again, a bunch of things here, but a few that I wanted to point out specifically. You have to actively manage the account, which Google qualifies as logging in at least once per month and making at least one change to the account every 90 days. That could be any change at all. Maybe you add a few keywords, maybe you pause them because they're not working. Whatever you want to do is fine. You also cannot have strictly commercial advertising. So if you are selling, for example, shirts, bumper stickers, anything, Google will not let you run that through the grants program, but you can do that through through an account that you are paying for. Yes.
So basically, if you have a 501c3, how about religious organizations? Are they?
That's a good question. I believe that they can run ads. I do know there are a few restrictions. Those are all on their website. They'll tell you like straight up. Yes.
Does it have to be a 501c3, or can it be a not-for-profit that does not yet have 501c3?
I believe that you do need the 501c3 status. If you are pending that, if you have applied for 501c3 status, I believe on Google Grants until you are approved of that status. But again, I would check the website. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. So this is all great, right? Free money from Google. But what exactly is? Yes, go ahead.
There was one question from the last slide.
Sure.
Can you use that smile function on your website? Is that allowed? Because I know some nonprofits run that. That allows you to get a 0.5% for things that people buy through Amazon or something.
I don't know what that. Oh, Amazon Smile.
Amazon Smile.
Can you explain that to me?
That's only through Amazon. I think it's separate.
Yeah, I don't think that Google integrates with that. Enter into it. I think
it wouldn't be a problem
separate
then.
programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, free money, awesome. But what exactly is AdWords? So basically, it's Google's paid search advertising management platform. So what that means is that you enter into an auction with other advertisers and you bid, so that every time a user searches, your ad is entered into a new auction. You are bidding on keywords, so anything that you think is relevant to your nonprofit, to your business, to your service that you would want users to see an ad for. You target that, and then a user searches for something similar to that or exactly like that, your ad shows, and they have the opportunity to click. Your text ad will show on the Google search engine results page, or the SERP, which you'll hear me refer to a few times tonight. That's what it looks like. We've all been on it. Yes.
Help me with the auction.
Sure.
Auction-based bidding. So what are we doing? For example,
For example, if you are, and we'll get into this more later, but I can definitely do a high level right now. So for example, if you are bidding on, no one here is from Philly Paws? I'm going to use Philly Paws as an example a few times tonight. So for example, if you're from Philly Paws and you want to bid on and say, because you want people to see your ad, but if you want to pay up to $1.50 per click, because that's what works for your budget, you can enter that auction and say, I want to pay no more than $1.50 for this click. If someone else is bidding less than you, most likely you will show above them, but you'll be in the auction so that no matter what, even if someone else wants to bid $3 for that same click, but your ad is clicked on, you will pay $1.50 at most. But there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes, but that's kind of a basic sense of how the auction works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it helps.
Okay, great.
The key thing, it's not when it's displayed that only when somebody clicks on it and that takes them to your website.
Correct. So your ad can be seen by someone 1,000, 10,000 times. If nobody clicks on it, you don't pay. So that's a pretty cool thing about Google, is that you only pay when people are actually going to your site, which is the most valuable for you.
And if we have this plan, we're not paying with our own money, we're playing with
Correct.
Google funny money. Basically,
Correct.
right?
If you're playing with Google's money, you have up to $10,000 a month from them. Yes.
But you're probably going to get into this later, that you do want to specify, because if it's too general, then you're going to get a ton of clicks.
Correct.
Specify geographically or something like that, because you can spend your money really fast.
That's correct. Lots of targeting options, and you even have budgeting options. So again, if you only want to spend $10 a day, you can set that. Yes.
Something I'm very curious about. When you have an ad for the same site, and then you can see the same site without an ad. You click on the same site without the ad, although you got it in the same search. The guy doesn't have to pay for that. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is, those are organic results, and nobody's paying for that at all.
So although you see it on the same website, on the same search, you see the same website, one with a small ad on it and one without the ad. You click on the one with the ad,
and that advertiser pays for it. Yep.
And if you click, so actually, it's pretty. I really don't tempt to pay to click on the one with the ad, because somebody's paying for that. If I get
like them or not, I guess. I guess it depends if you like them or not.
That's the answer I was looking for.
So yes, like I said right here, you only pay when a user clicks on your ad. And again, you can set your maximum CPC or your bid. Those are interchangeable. They mean the same thing, which is the highest amount you're willing to pay for a click. And you can also set your campaign daily budget, which is the highest amount you're willing to pay in one day for a given. So again, like I said, you could have a daily budget of $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you think you could possibly spend in a day, at a scalable level that you're comfortable paying for.
Are there any safeguards against somebody just sitting there clicking it repeatedly?
Google is usually pretty good at that. It might show up. I mean, they take about. Usually, don't trust data that's less than 24 hours old. Google will usually take some time to get rid of those fake clicks, but yeah, they're pretty good at that. It might not show up right away, but it'll show up within a couple days. So just playing field. And why you would use Google AdWords, you get really quick visibility and more opportunities to show in front of your audience. You can build brand awareness by just continually showing to relevant users. You can compete with anyone. You could be on the same page with like American Cancer Society because they're in the same boat as you. You're all in a level playing field. It's really scalable and it's very easily measurable. Clicks, impressions, which we'll get into, but all of their metrics, you can see how that's all working right in the interface, and it's really easy to get a pulse on your performance. And what goes into this? So plan your campaign. Think about who your audience is, what they're searching for, what they might be searching for to find you, what you want them to know about you, what questions you might be able to answer for them, and what problem you can solve for them.
Is this on the website too?
Nope, this is all my notes.
Oh, can we get a copy?
Is this going to be sent out later?
We certainly can, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll make this into a PDF and we'll have it sent out to everybody later.
Great. I just learned the word scalability.
Scale that.
Tonight when Fran sent me a YouTube of Dan Pallotta. Don't know. Okay,
Okay.
That was the first time, and I don't get it.
Okay. So basically, if you're running maybe $100 a day campaign or something, and you see that performance is going really well, you can easily scale that up and start spending a lot more money because that's doing great. If you want to start spending $500 a day because you can see that your campaigns are bringing in 10 form fills a day at $100, which is right in your target, we'll say, then that's great. And you can just change your budget. You'll start spending $500 a day. But if you see then that is not doing well, you can cut it back down to $50 a day right away. So that's one way you can look at scalability. In budget terms, you could also look at scalability just in the breadth of campaigns you could have. So if you have a nonprofit that has, most nonprofits have different quote unquote service lines. So you could say, their main business, something for donors, something for volunteers. So each of those campaigns, you can run, you can really branch out pretty quickly. Where you with something like this, you could have a new set of keywords for a new line of business within 10 minutes.
Thank you.
So this is what a basic account structure looks like. So at the bottom I'll start there, are your keywords, which are phrases or words or terms that your audience is searching for. And that's where you set your bids to determine your position on the SERP. Then you would group related keywords into what we call an ad group. They're called an ad group because they're a group of keywords that will all serve the same ad. So something dog, use Philly Paws again as an example. If I'm running an adoption campaign, I might have a cat adoption ad group, a dog adoption ad group, and just a general pet adoption ad group. So then I have in my dog adoption ad group keywords that are specifically related to adopting dogs, not cats, not general pets. And then in my ad copy, to make it really relevant, I can write adopt a dog today or something like that instead of just adopt a pet today. Dog looks a lot better for someone who's looking to adopt a dog specifically. And so how you can look at it a different way, similar way, but more of a generic way would be that a campaign is a main line of your business or service, And then your ad groups are like your product categories. And then within those, any related terms that go together. So then to do keyword research, these are just a few ways. You can do it any way you want. First place to go, check out your website. Look at any content that you have on your website that would be relevant to people searching. Next up would be AdWords Keyword Planner. This is a tool that AdWords has in their interface. If you can put in a page on your website that you want to drive traffic to, a handful of keywords that you would like to show for, and they'll spit back out wasting more keywords that you could target. You should definitely read through them because they're not always relevant. And you definitely don't want to have any irrelevant terms in your account because then you're just wasting money. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job of helping you really expand your list and based on what people are searching for.
So you have some keywords that say come from your website, seem relevant, and this mechanism generates more that it thinks it's some algorithm. It thinks that are related and will augment it and so forth. But you never know what it'll come up with, so you have to say, correct. This one might be a little,
correct.
Not the right word.
Yeah, so maybe, again, on related to Philly Paws, maybe that are just a cat shelter. You only have cats, no dogs, and you put into Keyword Planner, I want to show for cat adoption, adopt a cat, etc. Things that seem very much related to cats specifically. Keyword Planner might try and get you to add some dog terms in there, but that's not what you want. So you just want to make sure that you go through them to make sure that everything is actually relevant to what you're providing. Yes.
Yeah, and isn't it true that Google? I used to think that if your AdWords don't reflect your content, you're not going to get placed very high. Or...
That's correct. Yeah. If you if you have. Okay. Oh, thanks. Can everyone still hear me from here? Okay.
Work with.
Yes, that's correct. If you are bidding on a term that really has nothing to do with your business, you'll have what's called a low quality score, and we'll go into that a little bit later. And that could mean anything from just Google pushes you further down the page to Google won't even show your ads most of the time because they don't think it's relevant.
And not to go on about that, but sometimes you can work with that by how you construct your actual website, right? What you make as a priority on your website so that it relates.
Yeah, so another reason that you could have low quality scores if you're driving to a page that isn't related. Or for example, the more targeted of landing pages, which is the you're driving to from your ads, the more related that is to your ad and your keyword, the better your quality score will be. So again, if I was showing for like a general pet adoption page for dog adoption keywords, my quality score is probably going to be okay. But if I drive to a specific dog adoption page, that quality score is probably going to go up. Yeah.
I understand how this works with your example of Philly Paws, because that's something that an individual consumer wants. Our service is a little bit different. Our primary customers, if you will, are volunteers, potential donors, and agencies that we collaborate with. I'm not sure how I would go about determining what the keywords are that they would be searching for.
So that might be something to talk to your current customers about. Those can be really helpful for determining what you could use in your account. If you ask them, like if you were looking for me, what would you search for? And you can think about that yourself too. Like if you were looking for you, like what would you search for? What do you think that would be relevant to someone looking for your business? Does that kind of make sense?
It makes sense in theory and practice.
Yeah. Could it be
tough? Because what we do is very expansive at the same time that it's targeted. We know who our market is, but what we're giving them is everything from how to cook an egg to how to think critically. So it's a little tough trying to figure out what the words are that one would look for.
Right. could it be more of like a, I mean, do you sell your program, or do you sell like or offer very specific content?
We are essentially selling programs to
start
who work with teens.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk later.
Okay.
Talk more about it. Okay.
Yep.
Next up is Google Trends, which is just a way that you can see how popular certain terms could be and if they're worth adding to your account. There are a few other sites like Suval, which is basically Google Suggest, which means that if you start typing in, for example, again, I'll use Philly Paws. If I start typing in dog adoption into Suval, it'll show me kind of like, you know how sometimes Google fills in your search for you and like guesses what you might be searching after. They'll show you like 10 or 15 what we call long tail keywords. Target, so you can see, just get a few more ideas of what someone might be searching for, and that's like real-time data. So it should be pretty relevant to what you're looking for. There's also something called concatenation tools, which is pretty much just a way to speed up a process if you already know what kinds of keywords you want to target. Again, for example, if I want to target adopt a cat, adopt a dog, adopt a pet, and like find dog adoption near me, I could just type like dog, cat, pet into one column, and then like adopt, and then like shelter and things like that, and then I just press a button. All those keywords are made for me, which is great. Saves you a lot of typing time.
Sorry, one little question. I've sort of noticed when you search most times anymore that if you have any geographic data on it generally gets factored into your search. I mean, you don't, it used to be that you'd search and you'd get places, you know, across the country, and they seem to be more local. So is that factored in?
It depends. I think the majority probably of what you're referring to is something that Google does like on their own, finding things that are relevant to where you are. But that's something that you can target through your paid search. So if you only offer services in Philadelphia, you can just target Philadelphia. Or if you only offer services in Philadelphia, New Jersey, or in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, you can just target that. If you're national, you can target US. If you're global, you can target everything. Which again is really useful, because if you can't offer your services to someone in Idaho, you probably don't want to show for them. Mm-hmm. And now we'll go into match types, which are basically just a different way of targeting someone based on keywords specifically. So here we'll go from less specific to more specific. With that, you increase your control, but your reach is greatest when you have the least control. Just keep that in mind as you're building out these campaigns. First is broad match, which is exactly what it says it is. You can be bidding on this keyword like women's hats, and someone searches for buy ladies hats, and your ad shows, even though that's not really what you were going for, but it's pretty close. I highly recommend never running any broad match. You'll get a lot of weird stuff. A lot of things that you weren't going for. For example, I have one client who was one of their, the generic term for one of their products is called a Docker. Have to be a term, but we were showing for like Docker's pants, Docker's socks, Docker's belts, which is not what they wanted to spend their money on. They wasted a lot of money on that before we caught that. So just something to keep in mind there. Next up is broad match modifier. This I recommend much more. This means that no matter what, if you have these little plus signs in front of your keywords, those keywords have to be in the search that the user is doing. So for example, if I'm bidding on plus women plus hats, I can still show for hats for women, which is good, but I'm not going to show for buy ladies hats because women isn't in there. Then next is the match. These are just little quotations around the outside of the term, and that means that if someone is searching for this, or someone's going to see your ad, they have to search these words in this order. This is a pretty good level of control, so you can still see how people are searching with different words in front of your keyword or different words after your keyword, while not really messing with the core message you're trying to get from them. Lastly is exact match, which again is exactly what it says. This means that someone has to search exactly this term for your ad to show. This is very highly controlled. This is the one you have the most control over. It's exact. Know that when you do this, your reach will be a lot lower because there are fewer people searching exactly for women's hats as there are searching for women's hats and hats for women and where can I find women's hats, things like that. Yes.
Ellie, does that mean that the previous result would not be included by women's hats?
Correct. So if I was bidding on women's hats exact match, my women's hats would not show.
Okay.
Or like I wouldn't show for buy women's hats because I'm telling Google here that I only want people who are searching for women's hats and that's it. That make sense?
Yes, but I mean, if the search were something like find women's hats, that would be read off then.
That would, yep, I would not show for that if I was on exact match. But if I was on phrase match or broad match modified, I would show.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there a trade-off then between control and reach? In other words, I'm assuming that control has something to do with effectiveness?
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting more leverage as we get more control.
Yes.
But we're getting
and more relevancy, I would say, too, most likely.
Okay, but so that's where our cash may be coming from, but we're getting more recognition.
Yeah, so you'll show in front of a ton of people if you do broad match, but a lot of those people are probably not relevant to you. But still, broad match is a good way to kind of get a pulse on maybe some related terms or different ways to search for your service that you wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't done broad match. If you had just done, if I just had women's hats on exact match here, maybe I wouldn't have known that people are searching for hats for women. But I can see that if I have broad match modified. There's a way in Google where you can see the search terms that people are looking for. You guys hear me? Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And then lastly on this, I wanted to touch on this as well, is negative match, which means that if there are any terms that are relevant to your business that might come up in these other search queries, it'll be phrase and broad match modified then. You can just add them as a negative so that anytime a query includes that word, your ad does not show. So again, for example here, if I'm selling, we'll say I'm selling women's hats, and I don't want to show for men's hats because I don't sell men's hats, I can add men's as a negative keyword, so that I'll never show anytime someone's searching for men's hats. And again, another example of like the Docker story I was just telling, once we found out that we were showing for Docker's pants and stuff, we had pants as a negative. See when you code for it again. That's how we saved all that money back. Yeah.
With the negative, I would think you need to be careful because if you were to say negative men's and someone searched for women's or men's hats, that would knock it out and it wouldn't show up, right?
Correct.
So negative, you got to be very careful about inadvertently having the false drop.
Definitely. Yeah, there are certain and you can see when you look at these search query reports. What people are looking for, you can kind of get around that in a way. So instead of, so maybe men's isn't what you want, or the negative men's keyword isn't what you want because people are searching for women's or men's hats. I was losing. So that is actually a very specific example where I don't know what I would do, because I still probably wouldn't want to show for men's hats. I would probably just add men's as a negative anyway and deal with the traffic that I was losing, because women's is still so highly relevant, and then the men's could just have all that spend that I don't want to be spending. But you could also get around it and just put things in certain orders, or irrelevant terms with specific things before or after. For example, if I had a query pretty recently that email one of my clients that has like an email marketing service, and I had email marketing on broad match modified, and someone was looking for like marketing how to mine email addresses or something like that. And I don't want to show for that because that's not what my client does. But I wouldn't want to negate email, but I could negate email addresses, or maybe email addresses might be relevant in the future. So maybe I'll just add mining from email addresses as a negative, because I know that's not something I ever want to show for. Yes.
How are we using the keyword match types?
Those you mean like within your ad groups?
You've put this up here. What am I going to do with it? How do I use that?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming up. But these are the core of your account, because your keywords determine where your ads show, how much you're spending on them, and which ads show.
I guess my question is, can I use this tool to screen and see what kind of results I get before I'm paying for it?
So Keyword Planner, you actually can run, you can run your keywords, like you can upload them, and Google will tell you what you can kind of expect, weekly or weekly or whatever date range you set, and they'll tell you like how many clicks you can estimate, how much spend you can estimate. Definitely take that with a grain of salt. Google has been very off in the past, whether way lower or way higher, but for the most part, you can get a decent idea of where to begin with your budgeting and your bidding, so that you can always make changes.
Will it show me at that level, if I'm using AdWords Keyword Planner, will it show me what the results are, or an example of the results that are going to come back for that particular search?
You mean like ads specifically?
So I'm looking at your example search.
But you,
if I put in, let's say I do a broad match modifier search, and put that into keywords, Keyword Planner, will that show me the phrases I'm getting back for the searches that it's going to feel? Okay.
No.
So I can't use this as a way to explore the proper phrasing.
No, you can't. You can make guesses, but you won't get actual real data until you run.
Okay, and then the data I get back at that point, is that going to be views, or is that going to, I don't know if it's views, it's only going to be clicks?
No, it'll show you everything you need to know, like how much you're spending on query, again for a given date range, depending on what you select. How many times your ad has shown for that query, how many times a conversion has happened based on that search query, which is whatever you want the user to do on your website, whether it's like a form fill, making a donation, etc. All of that data is available to you at the search query level. So a few types of targeting you can do with your keywords. First is location targeting. So like I was saying before, if your services are only available in a specific area, you'll definitely want to target those as your location. And you negative location targeting. So it kind of works the same way for the most part. If you're targeting a location, that will be only your ads will only show in those locations, but sometimes Google kind of flows it a little bit. So negative locations are a good safety net if you really need it. There's also language targeting. Google has a ton of languages available, I think like 40 something, typically, I recommend targeting all languages rather than English. How language targeting works is that even if for the on a user's browser setting, so if their browser is set to be Spanish or French or Mandarin, anything, they still have to search for your keywords in the language that you're putting them into your account. So if you're putting it in English, that person still has to search in English for your terms. Just because their browser is set to a specific language doesn't mean that they're searching in that same language. So for the most part, I recommend targeting all languages so that you can make sure that you're still reaching everyone that you want to reach. Because if you're not, you might be missing some customers. Yes.
All right. So that means, supposing I'm trying to reach people who speak English and people who speak Spanish, and so I have Spanish keywords. I mean, I would have to say, if I said cat, I would have to say gato also. Otherwise, unless they were looking for CAT, they would miss it. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. So some people they may have there are plenty of bilingual people who could have their browser set to Spanish, but could be looking for adopt a cat in English. So you would want to make sure that you show for that. But I wouldn't recommend running keywords for any language other than English unless your website is also translated in that language.
All right. I was going to say, because suppose it were something on Albanian, say, and I speak Albanian, right. So I would have to have somebody translate my keyword, and I would have to have a website that was written. Yes. Okay.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you could target Albanian keywords and drive them to your English website, but those people are probably going to have a very poor experience. So yeah, highly recommended that if you do plan on targeting any keywords in different languages, that you also have a website that is in that language.
This is more like just so you get through the language filters, right?
Yeah.
While we're talking about keywords, I had a question for you. Is it as important as it used to be to put keywords in that little field when you're building your web page? Does Google use keywords anymore? The search capabilities?
Do you mean like an in-site search? Like someone who's searching within your website?
Not necessarily. I mean, just in general, because I know they have very complicated algorithms for figuring out where you fit on the page when people search on a particular term. But I know at one time it was very important to have keywords in quotes in a particular field.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you mean like when you're searching as a user when you're searching something?
I mean when you're building the page so that when people search, they will. Yeah, exactly.
I would recommend that. I mean, the more relevant your website is to your keywords and your ads, the better, and that's the experience the user will have.
Sure.
So if you can make that happen, have like every single one of your keywords map to a specific page, which has like similar content, then that's fantastic. And you can still know that, you can still bid on keywords that are like a little bit different than the specific content that you have on your page, and you can still have a decent quality.
I think you're asking a different question than I'm
Okay, sorry.
What I'm asking about is when you're building a website,
yes.
One of the things you have an option to do is fill in a keywords field in the
HTML.
In the HTML code, basically. And the question is that something that's useful anymore, or has people kind of totally supplanted that? Because it's a kind of a hidden field.
Yeah.
People don't actually see that field. They're looking at the web page.
Yeah. So that's more to do with SEO.
Yeah.
Which is not what I do.
Okay.
But
well, I'll take that off.
I can tell you, it's okay. We can take a quick sidestep. I can tell you that that's a little shady when you're not kind of just straight up showing the user all of your content. If you have kind of those quote unquote hidden keywords, I think. I mean, I'm not sure if Google has been able to detect those well, for example, but I would...
Again, not the question I'm asking. I'm not concerned about the hidden keywords. I'm concerned about, is there a benefit in putting keywords in that list just so that they're there, will that be helpful in terms of the?
For paid search, no.
Not for paid search at all? Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Good. So next up is ad scheduling. So if you want to, for example, show only when your business is open, maybe you're open from 9 to 5, you can schedule that out. If you're only open on the weekends, you can just schedule that so that your ads only show when it's relevant to the user. And you can also target based on device. So for if you have a pretty poor mobile website and you don't really want to send users there, you can target so that you don't show on mobile at all. If you do have a poor mobile website, I definitely recommend that. But if your mobile website is okay, then don't worry about what I just said. But you can also view performance by device within the interface. That's a little bit more advanced. We don't have to get into that. But if you notice that maybe your mobile performance or your desktop performance is better or worse than others, you can change your bids so that you're bidding a different amount because they may be more or less valuable to you. So now we're going to see what an ad looks like. This is a pretty basic one from Children's Hospital, Colorado. First, you have the headlines. This is where you can really stand out to a user and just tell them what you're about. So definitely have your name in one of these headlines so that people are aware of what you are. Next is the description. Again, just extra text to let the users know what you're about. This is where you should have some sort of unique value proposition or call to action. This one doesn't. As every ad, no matter what, these 3 items, as well as that URL, will always show. So you also want to make sure that anything you definitely want a user to know goes in these fields.
Is there a limit on words or letters?
Yes, we will get to that later. Yes.
Is that word cancer in bold? And is that because it was the keyword or?
Yes, children's and cancer are in bold. So that happens when you, if you type a certain query, those words will show up in bold within the ads. So it's easier to see which ones are more relevant. So I think for this one, I searched for like children's cancer donation of your ad in the hospital, and Google bolded those terms so I could see that was more relevant. But for some reason, it doesn't bold all of them. I don't know why. Yeah.
Where did I type that?
In the search bar.
No, I meant that the user would, but I meant to set that up so that it would appear this way.
We'll get there.
Okay.
But yes, these are the 4 main parts of your ads. You want to make sure that you're saying as much as you can possibly say about your service in those 3.
Well, tell us the part that's missing, the value line.
Unique value proposition.
Yes.
So that would be anything that you think is unique to you that you can offer that's for example. And call to action is basically just creating a sense of urgency. That's encouraging a user to do something that you want them to do, whether it's learn more or donate now or sign up now, something like call now, any of those. Yeah.
Is there a limitation on the length of the description?
Yes, these have limitations and they're coming up later.
Is this the same size for mobile as for, this isn't online or?
Yep, so this specifically is from desktop, but mobile is the same limitations. And then also on here, Google also offers extensions. There are a lot of kinds of them. We won't go into all of them, but here are the first is call out extensions. These are just extra ways to make your ad bigger, to call out any other interesting things you want users to see or know about you. These don't link to your site, it's just extra text. And then lastly, on this one specifically, there's a review extension. if a third party has reviewed you in the past 12 months and you want users to know about it, you can have a direct quote or a paraphrase from that, and then it also puts in the source. That makes you look a lot more credible to the user and can really bulk up your ad. I have another example here too, with a little bit different extensions. So again, we have the headline 1 and headline 2. The description here does have a call to action. It has help now at the end, so that's clear to me, like what I can do when I get to this website. And there's also the call-out extensions that we went over, and there's also site link extensions, which are basically shortcuts to different areas on your website that you also think could be relevant to a user. So, for example, in this one, the main ad looks like it goes to the donate page, but maybe I don't want to donate. Maybe I just or maybe I do want to donate, but maybe I want to become a monthly donor. So I can just click right there and go to that page, so I can just set up my monthly donor, all my monthly donor settings, rather than just donating once and having to go back again or having to search for it again or within their website, look for that. So you can direct users to any other interesting areas on your website. So here are the guidelines that I just talked about. There are character limits. So the description lines can each be up to 30 characters. And all of these, by the way, as you're typing them into Google, Google won't let you complete or run an ad until your ad is within those guidelines. So if you use a path, a 31 character headline, Google won't let you run it until you make it 30. So each of those are 30 characters. Then there's something just after the URL there, after the backslash. It's called a path. You get up to 2 paths per ad. Those can each be 15 characters. Sometimes it may not be relevant for you to have anything as a path. That's a part of the ad that's not required. But again, for something like a donate page, having that donate and backslash is really helpful. Just packs a little bit of an extra punch. The description line there is up to 80 characters. The up to 25 characters each. And the site link extensions are also up to 25 characters each. Like I was saying earlier, there are more extensions that you can explore when you're in AdWords. Those all have their own character limitations, but they're all very clear within Google. And then a couple other guidelines that Google's laid out is no excessive capitalization and a very limited use of special characters. And that's just so that you don't look so spammy. I know we've all probably clicked on an ad we didn't want to click on and it looked really terrible. But this is kind of just to make sure that credibility is still there. You can only use a trademark term with the trademark holder's permission. So if you are the trademark holder, that's great, you're all set. If you work with a partner that you want to use in your ad copy, you just have to run it by them and have them approve it through Google, and then you'll be able to use their trademark terms in your copy. And just a few best practices. You should be tailoring the messaging around your keywords to establish the relevancy to the search query and the landing page. So like I was saying with dog adoption, for example, if I'm bidding on dog adoption, I want to make sure dog adoption is in, or something very similar to that, is in my ad, and I want to make sure that's my landing page. You should include a strong, compelling call to action. That could be as simple as something like donate now, donate today, sign up today, things like that. Promote a unique value proposition like I went over before, anything that's unique to you and that you can provide that someone else can't. And create a sense of urgency. That goes hand in hand with the call to action, so anything now, today, anything like that. So next up is landing pages. A landing page is the page that users land on when they click your ad. So it's just the page that on your website that an ad is tied to. It's really, really, really important to be as relevant as possible to Then add and landing page, and we'll get into that more in a little bit, but it's super important. So this is how you create a campaign. So we're going to go into the interface now. So when you sign into AdWords, you'll see a screen that looks a lot like this. You click on the big red Add Campaign button. Super clear. Then Google has a few different options for campaign types. For grants specifically, search network only is your only option. Even though it shows these other options, it won't actually let you create those. But you should be aware that there are other options. If you do somehow find room in your marketing budget, I'm sure that's difficult. But if you have some money to spend and want to try something out, know that there are other options available to you. Then you'll go into a campaign creator that Google really prompts you the whole way. They're holding your hand. It's really, really simple to get a campaign started. Again, I use Philly Paws for all these examples. I really like dogs. So campaign name, I chose adoptions. Again, my type is search network only. Standard is good for now, which is just any keyword targeted text ad showing on Google search results. I also believe that that's the only option for Google grants, but again, know that there are other options if you do decide to use your own budget. Another really cool thing is that you could load settings from an existing campaign. So if you've already set up a campaign and you're really happy with those settings, and then you want to set up a new one for something else that you do, you can just click that, and that saves you a ton of time. Here's also where you can select your locations and your language targeting. Here, I guessed that they would be relevant to Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. You can see what kind of reach you might have there. That definitely doesn't mean that I'm going to hit all 14 million people in Pennsylvania, but it gives you a good idea of how many people you might be able to reach. Languages, again, you just check those off. Those are all of the languages that are available. Your bidding, if any of those are of interest to you. And then next up is bidding. For bidding, you'll just want to select manual CPC for now, which means that you decide how much you want to pay. Google does have options where they can kind of help you out and change your bidding if they think it's best for you. And sometimes we don't always trust Google. I know I don't, and I know you don't. So manual might be the way you want to start out, but as you get more comfortable with it, you might want to let them take the reins. It'll also save you a lot of time if you end up making a lot of adjustments. Default bid for Google grants, which we'll get into in a bit, will always be $2. And the budget, this is where you decide how much you want to spend per day. So again, it could be $3 if that's what you're comfortable with spending. It could be $300 if that's what works for you.
The default bid of $2 is the minimum that Google sets.
$2 for Google grants is the maximum.
Oh, the maximum. Mm-hmm. So it could be between $2 and a penny or something.
Yeah, I think the minimum bid in Google might be, I think it is 1 cent. Yeah.
All right. And the only downside to bidding lower is that your ad will appear lower on the page.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So yeah, in general, the higher you bid, the more likely your ad will show higher on the page. That's not always necessarily true. For example, if you're bidding on something that's not very relevant to your business and you're bidding $20 on it when someone who's really relevant is bidding $5, they might still show above you because that's actually what they do or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But in general, yeah, the more you bid, the more likely you are to show higher on the page. With Google grants, that is a limitation. Like I said, they give you free money, but they kind of like reel you in a little bit. So you can only spend up to $2 per click. Yes.
If a lot of people say a keyword, will you always show up on a page, or just if you bid low, you won't show up on all pages, but you'll show up less frequently?
So yeah, if there are, on the first page, there are 7 slots available, typically. Sometimes Google changes that. It's usually about 7, never more than 7. And if there are 10 advertisers, obviously not all of them are going to show. Like I said, every every new search is a new auction. So you are all entered to the auction at the same time. Your bid is a factor. Your keyword is a factor because someone could be bidding on a different keyword than you, but still showing. And depending on those match types like I was talking about. And so there are a few different factors that go into why you may or may not show.
But even if you bid very low and there are 100 folks for that keyword, you'll show up.
You could still show, yeah. And Google also lets you know if you are what they call below first page bid. So if you're bidding, for Google Grants, if you're bidding $2 and, excuse me, if you're bidding $2 and you see that the first page bid is $8, you probably will have some impressions, which is how many, like the number of times that your ad is shown, but you'll have a lot fewer than you would if, for example, if you have and here's where you can add some extensions. I just checked off location for now, but you could also, that's another extension that we didn't go over, but if you have a physical location that, excuse me, I usually don't talk this much. But yeah, if you have a location that you want to direct people to, you can add that in.
Are there extra charges for the extensions?
Extensions are all free. No extra charge at all. Is there another question?
Well, I was going to ask if they cost more, but if they
depended.
So why doesn't everybody use them all the time? I mean, it gives you more space.
Yeah, no, you definitely should. You should have as many extensions on your ads as possible, but they don't always show. So that's something to keep in mind. Google always allows the amount of extensions that you're. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. The amount of extensions that show is dependent on whoever's in the top position on the page. So if they're showing 0 ads, but they're showing 0 extensions, but they're at the top of the page, everyone else below them will also show 0. So they always have the most. So if they have 4 extensions showing, the person below them can have up to 3. The person below that can have up to pretty new. Sometimes it kind of gets muddled, but the top space always has the most, has like the right to the most. But of course, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have extensions. You should have as many as possible because you don't know where you're going to be showing.
What are structured snippets?
Structured snippets they're pretty new from Google. There are like a header and some values that you fill in after. So basically, it's like, for example, if you are like a college and you want courses that vote, like the courses that you have for a specific program. Courses is a header that's available. It's preset headers. It's like 10 of them or something like that. So you can have like courses and then like fill in all the courses. Like we have, like personal finance and like wealth management and et cetera, et cetera.
So like a list?
Sort of like a list, yeah, of just like it's a category followed by the list. The categories are preset by Google. So there's like courses, an example. You could have types, which is very vague. I haven't used them too much, but yet.
So if you're talking about options, types.
Right, list like, you can have like, yeah, you can have like breeds. And then you can go into creating ad groups. So I entered landing page here. This is specifically for dog adoption. So I'm calling this ad group within my adoptions campaign just dogs. My default bid is going to be $2. And then here I can start listing out some keywords that I want. So I opted for mostly phrase match here. So here are just some examples of what I came up with. Google recommends starting with 10 to 20 keywords per ad group, which is usually about right. If you get too many, then you run the risk of they're probably less relevant to each other and will be less relevant to that page. Too few, I mean, you can't really have too few, but then it can become a bit unwieldy if you have one keyword per ad group and you're running then 100 keywords and suddenly you have 100 ad groups and that's pretty tough to manage as compared to if you have 20 in an ad group and then you only have 5. Yes.
The phrase is a keyword.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So these are all
Not literal word. It means.
Yep. The whole thing is a keyword. So a keyword can be one word. It can be, I think, up to like 80 something characters or something like that. For the most part, you wouldn't want to target something like that because then you get really specific and not that many people are probably going to be searching for that. Plus a word is probably anywhere between 1 and maybe like 7 words. Again, depending on your audience.
And in that box is where you would put the plus or the minus signs?
Yeah, so that would be right where these keywords are in like this blue box here. So I have the phrase match, which is the quotation is on right now, but I could also have the plus adopt, plus a plus dog, or those in the brackets for exact match. Google will also help you out a little bit here on the right. They're giving me some more ad group ideas. For example, cat shelter, which as pause, I want to add that in, but I wanted to do that in a different ad group. But I did look in it. I looked in like adoption websites, and a lot of those looked pretty good that I could just add right in here. So they really help you out along the way, trying to get you to have the most relevant campaign as possible. Yes.
If you have a specific campaign for something that's that you've got in other media and it's very specific, like bring Fido home or something like that, you'd expect some people would search actually on ad phrase or whatever, so you put that in there because I know it's not a general Google search term, but if you've got media out there that people are seeing somewhere else, you want to put that in your. Yeah,
I would put that. I guess it depends. I'd at least put that in its own ad group because searching for bring Fido home, for example, are probably a lot different than people who are looking for dog adoption near me. That is what I would call specifically what I would call a branded search. So something that's very specific to your brand. I might even go so far though as as putting that into its own campaign with its own budget, because that's where the budget is set.
Because it would have its own landing page, maybe.
Right. Because multiple ad groups within a campaign all share the same budget. So if you think, like if you're pet adoption, dog adoption, cat adoption, all kind of behave pretty similarly, can easily spend your $50 a day budget together or something like that. Whereas your bring Fido home one might spend $100. You might just want to break those out into their own campaigns so that they're not taking budget away from the other keywords you're still targeting.
I mean, you can change your budget, right?
Yeah, you can.
Time periods.
Yep. You can change your budget any moment you want. Okay, and then this is where I would create an ad. So here I have my final URL, which is my landing page. That's the dog adoption page. For my headline, I did Philly pause. For headline 2, I put find your new best friend. That's a pretty unique value proposition. That's something I found on their landing page. Thought it was really cute. And it's more a call to action with find. And then I put browse our dogs and save a life. Fill out an adoption application today. Again, more calls to action, creating a sense of urgency for people to click right away and get started with.
It looks like there that the URL that you have in the left doesn't exactly match the one on the right.
Correct. Good call. So Google just automatically takes the base URL, which is pretty much just your domain, no matter what comes after it. Like here I have after in my domain, I have /adopt, /both, etc. And down here in the path is where it's already pulled that out. So it knows that my domain is phillypaws.org. And then that's where I can fill in those paths. So I just put dogs for there for now.
Can we use can we use a Facebook page for the organization as the website?
No, it has to be your domain.
Okay.
And that's also best for tracking purposes, which we'll also get into in a little bit. Yeah.
Where did it get the final URL?
The final URL is what I chose. So that's the landing page that I want my ads to drive to.
You generated that.
I found it. It just like took it from the website. Like when I went to when I went to like phillypaws.org and I clicked on general options and I clicked on dogs. This is the URL, so I just copied that and pasted it right here. And then before you set your campaign live, you'll have the ability to review it to kind of see what you can expect. So here, if I'm just bidding on those general dog keywords, it's estimating I'm going to get about 40 clicks a day for about $35. That's pretty good. And then again, I can see what my ad might look like, and then some campaign settings from afar. And then you just save and finish, and you're good to go. That's great. I don't know if it's working. So there are a few metrics that are pretty specific to paid search. We can go through these pretty quickly. Clicks, how many times someone clicks on your ad. Impressions are the amount of time your ad shows. Click-through rate is clicks divided by impressions, or the number of times that your ad is clicked on per how many times it's seen by a user, or by users in general, not a specific one. Cost per click, or average CPC, is how much you typically are spending per click. So like I said before, even though your bid, your maximum bid may be $2, your average cost per click might be more like $1.50, $1.25 or something like that, because you're not always going to be spending keyword $2. Average position is where you typically are in the SERP, usually between 1 and 7, not always. Quality score is a score that Google assigns to your keyword based on how relevant it is. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's based on how relevant the keyword, ad, and landing page are together. The higher the number, the better, and that's on a scale of 1 to 10. But even still, even if you don't have a quality score of 10, you're still probably good. Anything like 5 and up is a pretty good quality score. Conversions are the action that you want a user to reach your website. So like I've said, it could be a form fill, it could be, it could be like making a donation, it could be signing up as a volunteer, something like that. Cost per acquisition is the amount of spend, the amount you spend per conversion. And the conversion rate is the number of conversions divided by the number of clicks, or to put it in a different way, of all of the people that you're actually driving to your site, how many of them are taking the action that you want them to take ultimately. Key performance indicators, quality score, click-through rate, and conversions. Like I said, quality score is a number assigned to your keyword. Google makes it up. You don't have control over it. There's really, like, changing your bid doesn't affect it at all. What you can do, though, is make sure that your keyword, your ad, and your landing page are all really relevant. So what that's based on, again, is that relevance. Expected click-through rate, again, something that Google kind of makes up. But that comes from past user behavior with your account and your keywords and your ads. What they think someone will, or what they think that click-through rate might be. And then lastly is landing page experience. So again, that goes hand in hand with ad relevance. So the better your landing page experience, the person who's clear what you want the user to do once they get to your page, the better it'll be in AdWords' eyes. And your quality score is important because the higher it is, your cost per clicks decrease. Like I was saying earlier, even if you're bidding $5 when someone else is bidding $20, but your quality score is really high and your experience is a lot better than the person who's bidding $20, your ad can still show higher because you're providing a much better experience for a user than someone who wants to pay more. Google will value that. And then again, hand in hand, your average position will increase too.
Yes. How much information are they going to see?
Bidding.
You said if you pay more or less, they'll be on top of you.
Like how much can another advertiser, like how much information can they see of yours?
Of yours, yeah.
Nothing. They can guess. They can guess that if they are bidding, I guess, let's see, if you're bidding $2 and they can't see it. It would be a pretty complicated equation to figure it out. But it's based on what that advertiser's cost per click is and their average position and something called ad rank, which is something that like nobody knows. So it's, yeah, you can't get any really competitive insights into that. Click-through rate, like I said, just click the side of impressions. It's expressed as a percentage. And a conversion is an action that you want the user to complete once they reach your page. These are just a few examples of what that might be for you. Conversion tracking allows you to see which keywords and search queries drove which action on your site. So conversion tracking is really important. You don't have to have conversion tracking set up on your site. It's not absolutely necessary to run a campaign, but it definitely is necessary efficient campaign, and so that you can really understand what's working and what's not. Because sometimes, I mean, you might think that an ad that's getting a lot of clicks is doing really well, but that may not necessarily be the case. Some people might be clicking to your site and then realizing that that's not what they were looking for. Conversions is really how you figure that out. Yeah.
You said we should have conversion tracking set up on our sites. Is that something that happens through Google or through the design of the website?
That's something that happens through Google, and I'm going to go through that in a second. It's really quick, really easy to set up, but you just need to have access to the site code. Setting up conversion tracking. Like I said, you need a website, ability to edit the site code. You'll place the code on your thank you or success page, whatever page comes after someone completing a conversion action. Between the opening and closing body tags. That's what they look like. So you go to tools and then conversions, and then hit the plus conversion, just like the plus campaign button. There you can choose which type of conversion you'd like to track. Note that these are available. It's mostly going to be website. There are a few fields to fill out here. I'm not going to go through all of these in detail because it's going to be totally dependent on what you're interested in, but Google will definitely bring out that go through all of these so you know that you're making the right decisions. Basically, all you'll need to do for now is just pick a name. So it could be, for example, if it is like a thank you page, you'll want to write that it's your thank you page conversion code. And then once you're all done filling out that form, Google spits out this piece of code at the end, and that's what you copy and paste into your site. And a little bit more about Google Grants specifically. Like I said, the maximum bid is set at $2 a click, so you can't bid more than $2. You can't show up on a results page higher than a paying advertiser. So if you're competing against all Google Grants users, and you're in a very, very fair competition. If you're bidding against people who are using their marketing budget, you can't show higher than them. But you can still show, you can still compete with them. Just because someone's in the top spot doesn't mean they're getting clicked on all the time. You have a limited use of extensions. All the extensions that I went over with you are definitely available to you, but there are a few others that you just can't access. And the language used within the ads. So for example, buy, shop, or purchase are big no-nos with Google. They don't like those from Google Grants advertisers, but you can use something a lot more encouraging and not so necessarily direct selling. Donate and learn more, something like that. Google's cool with those. Just my biggest tip, if you have the marketing budget, I know a lot of you don't. I know that's tough. But if you do, bid on keywords with the lower average CPCs using your Google Grants account. Anything that's under $2, go for it because you know you can afford them. And then if you have some extra budget, bid on keywords with a higher average CPCs that are over $2 that you know you're not as competitive with because you can't bid more than $2 on them in the grants account, put that in a separate account and bid on those there. So bid on those $3, $4, $8, $10 terms. Especially if you know that they're highly relevant and highly valued even in business, that could be worth it to you to spend maybe even $100, $200 a month on those in a separate account. Now you're pretty much ready to get started.
All right.
These are the steps. See if you're eligible first. Apply for the program, enroll, create your account, and submit your account for review. And then you can jump up and dance because you're on Google AdWords. And I have some more, thank you. I have some additional resources here, the site and application, the help center, which is really helpful if you're stuck on something, if you don't understand something. Their help center is great. There's tons of information.
Thank you.
And you can sign up for Google Partners if you're interested. You can get certified in AdWords. There's a little bit of studying involved, but even studying for it can help you get a lot more familiar with the platform itself. And that's my email if you want it. It's really easy, aliw@seerinteractive.com. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do ad blockers necessarily, are they able to block AdWords as well?
Yes.
They are. Okay.
I will say, I mean, that's actually a pretty common concern that we talk about from time to time at my agency. It doesn't seem like ad blockers are really hurting traffic. I'm sure like the more they get adopted, the more it might be, but then our industry will kind of change on that. But for the most part, I would say ad blockers have a pretty low effect on your ads, even though they do affect them. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was recently building a page in Wickadelphia for your company.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to look up a bunch of the terms because I don't know anything about it. Okay. And what my question is, are you planning to put a glossary or at least a link to your industry's glossary somewhere on your website?
That I don't know. I don't manage our site. I can ask.
I mean, it seems, CPC and, well, I had no idea. Okay, I wasn't using these things, and here I am trying to design essentially an advertisement for your company, and it wasn't easy.
No, I believe that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll take that feedback back to our website team. Thank you.
I don't know. Did you see my comment? I wrote this up.
Where was it on?
In the response form on your website.
Oh, I don't manage the website, so I'm sure someone has seen it though. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
You may have covered this in the beginning, but the $10,000 per month, is that for a year, forever?
All of these.
For as long as you continue to be a nonprofit?
As long as you. I'll go back to the slide. Because I think I had that. Let's see. It was up here somewhere. Okay. All you have to do, that's per month indefinitely. You just have to stay qualified. So follow all of these rules down here that Google has. Like I said, I would say the main one here would be the second point, which is that you have to actively manage the account. So if you forget to make changes for 3 months, then Google will pause your account. That doesn't mean that you can't start your stuff, but just know that as long as you're actively managing it, you're good. Google will keep giving you that money.
But the managing can be minor.
I'm sorry?
The managing can be minor.
It can be minor. It can. It can be adding one new keyword. It can be pausing a keyword because it's not performing well. Anything you want. It could be a lot bigger, but and also with the $10,000 limit, so you can spend up to that. If you're spending $10 a month, Google isn't going to tell you you're not spending enough. Google won't kick you off because you're not spending enough money. Yeah.
Do you offer the service of setting this all up for?
I do not. I don't. No.
Your company doesn't?
We don't. We do if you're a paying client. But if you're interested in being a paying client, definitely we have that's part of our process is helping you set this up. Yeah.
Is there any limit to how many campaigns you can have in a given time period?
I think the campaign limit is like something crazy, like 100,000 or something. Okay. Like I would not accept that you would ever hit the campaign limit. Everything? All right.
And Andy, you're going to get us a package of the materials? Are you able to do that?
Yes, we will definitely get the slides out to everyone. So that concludes our program. Ali, thank you so much. That was an incredibly generous amount of information. Very much appreciated.
For more information, visit phillynetsquared.org or meetup.com/PHLNET2. We produce this program in the studios of Professional Podcasts, a division of the Lubetkin Media Companies in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on the web at beingthemedia.com. For everyone at Philly Net Squared, this is Steve Lubetkin. Thanks for joining us, and take good care.